Okay, we all ready to play the game?
Yes.
Oh, righty, then let's have our first contestant. Will you come in? Now, let's first of all find out who these gentlemen are and where they hail from, and we'll start with you, sir, please.
I'm Wayne Koons from Lyons, Kansas.
This is Wayne Koons of Lyons, Kansas. And your name, sir?
George Cox from Eustace, Florida.
Fine, now we know it's Mr. Koons on my right, Mr. Cox on my left. Now, gentlemen, if you'll whisper your secret to me, we'll show it at the same time to our audience at home. Now, to help you classify the secret, the clue concerns something these gentlemen did, and Bess, dear, we'll start with you.
All right, I'll start with Wayne. Wayne, this thing that you did, was there any other person mentioned in this secret besides George and yourself?
Not directly, no.
As the secret, Wayne, as the secret was flashed on the screen, there was the name of another person.
I see.
So we have to give you a yes there.
Anybody here tonight?
No.
No. You did this together
Yes.
in the same place at the same time?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Does it have anything to do with the service, any branch of the service?
Well,
Yes, it
Yes,
does.
it does?
yes. Mm-hmm.
Specifically the Air Corps? Air Force?
No.
No.
$20 down, $60 to go. They do look like flyers. I can't say that, don't they? And so we go to Johnny Carson.
But the Air Force is out.
Yes, sir.
What does it have to do with the Navy?
No.
The Army.
No.
You're making enemies faster than you know.
Sure are.
How about the Brownie Scouts? Well, I assume it's the Marines. Are you gentlemen both Marines?
Yes, we
Yes,
are.
we are.
Does this have something to do with a recent shot into space?
Yes, it does.
Aha.
Good.
Were you two fellas involved in any way with the actual participation of this flight?
Yeah, I think we do. Well, not the actual flight itself, no.
Were you on the scene?
Pardon?
Were you on the scene, either at takeoff or landing?
Were you on the scene at either takeoff or landing?
Yes.
I think we'd have to say yes to that. $40 down, 40 to go.
Say
We go,
yes to
please, to
that, but
Betsy.
that was two questions that you said yes to. I mean, he said, were you either present at the takeoff or the landing? And the gentleman said yes.
They were
And I
one
don't know
person,
whether
yeah.
it's one or the other, and I have to find... Well, I do think it probably was out in the ocean where you picked up the gentleman.
That's right.
Is that it? You were the...
You've got it. These two gentlemen, Lieutenant Wayne Koons and Lieutenant George Cox, are the Marine helicopter pilots who last Friday picked up the Mercury capsule and its most precious cargo, astronaut Alan Shepard. And gentlemen, I can only truthfully say that we're very honored to have you with us this evening. From the countdown to the very moment when you picked up Commander Shepard, I think were the longest, the tensest, the most exciting minutes that I have ever spent in my life. And I want to congratulate you for successfully carrying out what must have been a very nerve-wracking and difficult mission indeed. And Lieutenant Koons, we all know that the astronauts, they're the fellows on the other team, aren't they? Anyhow, the astronauts trained for 2 years for what happened last Friday. How much training did you have?
We've worked on the project for 2 years. Actually, I'd say the training was about a year prior to this shot.
So actually, as soon as they started Project Mercury, the idea of how to launch a man, they also started the project of how to successfully retrieve him.
That's right, yes.
Well, Lieutenant Koons actually is project officer. He has worked on techniques of development and procedures for spacecraft recovery by helicopter. And he told me earlier tonight that when this project was first started, the recovery of a space capsule by a helicopter from the open ocean was considered by some to be an utterly impossible task. So you really had to develop a whole new technique with helicopters for this new mission, didn't you?
Yes, we did a lot of work with special equipment, and we've done a lot of special training with pilots and worked this thing out so that it can be done.
They literally took part in hundreds of practice missions, and last Friday was his 5th actual pickup of the
That's right.
capsule, was it?
Sure.
And Lieutenant Cox was your 3rd, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
And I understand that Commander Shepard was the second space traveler that you have picked up, correct?
Yes, he was. I picked up Ham, the space monkey, before.
Oh, you did? Now, you were also the first person actually to see Commander Shepard after his return from space, were you not?
Yes, I was. I was in the belly of the aircraft, operated the hoist that took him from the capsule up to the cabin of the helicopter.
Well, I'm sure everyone wonders how he reacted at that moment.
Well, he looked like the same Commander Shepard I'd known before and worked with, except a little happier than before.
I imagine, yes, ma'am.
Jerry, I would like to ask Lieutenant Koons, where either went, did you do, as the helicopter commander, did you do your own finding of the capsule, or did some other equipment or service used in the actual placement of where it landed?
In this particular case, we were waiting right where he landed. Usually, we find that we have to be taken to the impact site by radar-equipped aircraft. They steer us out and then steer us back to the ship.
Well, were you ever in radio contact with the capsule while it was in space?
Yes, we could hear Commander Shepard's transmissions from about the time he reached 85,000 feet. That's when he came within range of our receiver. And then we actually were talking with him after he had struck the water and was waiting to be picked up.
Well, now, how long did it take you to actually reach the capsule from the time it hit the water?
Well, we were right on the spot. We were waiting for it to hit. We were circling the parachute as it came down. And within 2 minutes of the time it hit the water, we had the commander out of his capsule and in our aircraft.
Within 2 minutes. Yes,
I
Johnny,
was
you got
going
a
to ask,
question.
what was the first thing that he said? I don't know whether the papers printed that.
Well, you were the first one to see him, and what did he say?
Well, when he first got in there, he shook hands with me and gave me a big grin, and we went about picking up the capsule, and
Could he?
I pointed him toward his seat to sit down, strapped in for the ride back to the carrier, and he looked outside and said, "What a beautiful day."
That's the understatement of the year, isn't it?
Well, you weren't allowed to question him, were you, or speak to him? Didn't the doctors want you to?
We were instructed not to direct our conversation to him, but if he spoke to us, we could answer him and talk to him if he started it.
And weren't you asked also to try to remember very clearly what his reaction was and how he seemed to be, in case anybody want to ask you, any of the medical authorities later on?
Yes, we were little spies, so to speak. We were watching.
Well, as everyone who watched television that day, and I suppose as everybody in the country knows, the news film camera broke down, and the official film of the helicopter picking up the capsule was unfortunately ruined. Tonight, though, we do have that historic moment on film, thanks to Lieutenant Cox, who loaned his own 8mm camera to the co-pilot of one of the other helicopters. And he photographed the pickup. And with it, that is with Lieutenant Cox's permission, we're showing it tonight for the first time. Now, the film is not the best quality. It's 8mm transferred to a larger millimeter, and it's larger millimeter. It's a little jerky, but it is the real thing. So will you roll the film, Frank, and panel you can watch on the monitor.
Right here, we have just hooked on to the capsule and started pulling it up to steady it upright in the water. We told Commander Shepard we were ready for him to come out and recover him, and he asked us to raise the capsule a little bit higher. Right here, the side hatch on the capsule was blown off. Commander Shepard pushed it out, started disconnecting and turning off things inside the capsule. And just a moment, he in the hoist.
Looks like a nice smooth sea.
It was fairly calm that day.
No.
There, Commander Shepard is now in the sling coming up to the belly of the helicopter. He's just about to the doorway now. He was giving me a big grin all the way up and a thumbs up.
That's it. Well, there you go. Well, gentlemen, I cannot thank you enough for being here tonight and sharing this truly momentous experience with us. We're proud of you, and certainly everyone else who contributed to getting our first man into space. It's been a great joy. Lieutenant Koons? Boy, what a piece of 8mm film to have for your little old home collection, huh? Something I just happened to take one day when they were shooting the first man into space for America.